Detroit Lions fans, Detroit Den 313 back with another one. Before we get going, you know what to do. Bang that subscribe button like you guys have been banging that subscribe button to get us to 10K. And that's why this Wednesday, we're going to be doing a crazy giveaway. So we've been talking about it. Me and Steve finally got an opportunity to sit down and figure out what the heck is going on. Wednesday is going to be the giveaway. How can you be in? First things first, be a subscriber. Second thing second, if you want to become a member, that will open you up to some other things that normal subscribers won't be open to. So you don't have to be a member to get an opportunity to get the giveaway stuff, man, but there will be some special stuff set aside for the membership. So getting that stuff out of the way, Steve, there's been wish lists all over the place, you know, and I guess my first question right out of the gate is, do you have more things on your wish list? Are there still more Christmas gifts that you're looking for? Set the table for what the heck I'm talking about.
Are you talking like, you know, you wake up in the morning as a young kid and, you know, you do Christmas with your parents and, you know, you get some pretty good stuff like we have so far in Freedom. So you get some good things, but, you know, things kind of settle down a little bit, but then maybe, you know, later that night, maybe you go to grandma's house and you get a little bit more. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Like grandma might have that banger of a Christmas present under the tree.
Stored a little something at her house.
Yeah, a little grandma tucked away some stuff in her panties and saved some money to get. Listen. Hey,
Grammy, what are you doing?
Listen, whatever she's got to do to get Stevie P his Christmas present on a Sunday night. I don't know if I have a quote unquote wish list. There's still some players out there that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in really any particular player. I'm not just locking into one guy, but I am still interested in the edge / pass rusher position, whatever you want to call it. So there's still some names out there that I have my eye on. There's some future Hall of Famers. There's some solid role players. There's some guys who could be second, third stringers, but I think the biggest name out there still today, and I mentioned future Hall of Famer, is Von Miller. Is he someone you'd be interested in, Will?
Von Miller for the right price, I'm for sure interested in. So, but it's right prices being key. So when I looked at Von, the first thing that I was thinking is looking at his contract, man. And what I see 2024 season with the Bills, base salary was $1.5 million. And then he had a roster bonus of $6 million. I don't know. It's not crazy. It's not crazy, but this is a guy who was really kind of a pass rush situational specialist. I don't know if I want to give that up for a guy like that, man. Maybe if it's incentive based and, you know, he's got to take a certain amount of stamps and stuff like that, maybe. So I guess I'm 50-50 on it. How about you?
I think I'm a little bit higher than 50-50. I'd probably say at least 60-40. All right. Because we need some pass rushers. And I think of it this way is when Brad Holmes makes a deal or he puts a contract out there, that's my baseline. All right. So I'm looking at Marcus Davenport saying he got a prove it deal with a lot of incentives. Why can't we give the same type of thing to a Von Miller with a very, very minimal base salary with a lot of incentives that include like playing time, production, playoff bonuses, whatever else he wants to throw in there? I'm cool with that. Am I paying him a $13 million base salary? No, but I'll give him a 4 or 5 and say, hey, man, if you go out and you play in 15 games and you get 8 sacks, you'll get, you know, a little bonus for each. But I don't know. I really love these player-based incentive type deals. I personally, I know I'm not the commissioner of football, but some of these contracts get out of hand and then you get guys who just don't ever play football. I think a lot of contracts should be incentive-based. So I particularly like that. I always have kind of leaned that way, especially when I'm looking at Von Miller's, you know, his last 3 years, he hasn't played more than 13 games the last 3 years. So if he's coming to Detroit and he's purely just a pass rusher for like, 3rd and 7 or something like that, hey, number 40, go in there. Von Miller, get after the quarterback with Hutchinson. I would like him in that role. I can't be out there giving him some type of massive deal with where he's at in his career and kind of starting to see a little bit of a decline. He really hasn't played a full season and his whole career with Buffalo. He hasn't played a full season since 2021 when he got traded to the Rams halfway through the season and Super Bowl champion, I might add. But I see a little bit of drop off there that concerns me. So his deal would have to be purely incentive based for me.
listen, for me, this is the bottom line. Incentive-based, yes. I need it to be no more than like $7-8 million whole thing wrapped around the whole thing, and it's got to be 1 year. But here's why. Excuse me. I would deal with a little bit extra money from Von Miller. He's a teacher. He's a teacher. He oftentimes is running pass rush camps that NFL players and college players are coming to. I think you get that dude in the building and he enhances your building. It's just like getting another coach in the building. I will be very surprised if he doesn't end up being a coach after his career is done. So for those reasons, similar to a Teddy Bridgewater, I like getting him in your building. But the price has to be right. Things have to be aligned the right way, because if you line up things correctly with an incentive-based contract, even if he goes out, you got a coach in the building. You got a guy who knows how to be technically sound. Who knows how to take care of business from being a pass rusher. Everybody can learn from this guy if you get him in your building. But that said, if you can't get the money right, there's some other guys out there. Zadarius Smith, man, he's one that I still got in the back of my mind. I think he wants to be here, and I think that there's negotiation. He's filling out what's out there for him, but I think he still is entertaining the Detroit Lions. He was one of those ones when we put it in the podcast maybe a week ago when we talked about him. I said when free agency dust settles, I think Brad Holmes is going to make a couple more moves. He could be one of those guys, man, where, hey, guys get to get out there. He let some other teams make some offers, put some feelers out, and then he could close on somebody. So if it's not Von Miller, maybe it's Zadarius Smith, maybe it's Calais Campbell. That's another one, still hasn't signed. So are any Zadarius Smith or Calais Campbell, would you be interested in either one of those guys?
If I only get to choose one.
I don't think we're paying two of them, to be honest.
Yeah, that's why I asked. If I only have to choose one, I would obviously go with Zadarius Smith. I was just looking at his stats, from after the trade, when we traded for him after, I don't know what week that is, but we got him right before the Jacksonville game. And I'm looking, he had, we'll call it 2, 3, 4 sacks with the Detroit Lions out of 9. And how many games that he had pretty much average like a sack every other game. And I know it's not always about production, but I've been seeing a lot of free agents this offseason kind of get cut by their teams, and then everyone's thinking, oh, he's going to go somewhere else. And then they end up signing back with the original team. Like, I know Kyle Juszczyk just did that with the San Francisco 49ers. I was kind of thinking he would end up somewhere else. And I think Zadarius Smith might be in the same boat where he gets cut. The Detroit Lions are working on a deal that's more team-friendly, trying to bring him back, because I think Zadarius might be the best pass rusher out there right now that's available. So I would love to get him back in town. And I keep saying this, like when he was with Cleveland, he was an absolute problem. But Cleveland had Myles Garrett. We never got to see Zadarius Smith and Aiden Hutchinson together. I think that could be two players who could wreck games. All right. And then you go into the draft and you draft a D tackle or some depth. So Zadarius Smith is pretty high on my list. I would say he's probably my number one guy I would like to bring back. I know a lot of Lions fans would agree with that, but I'm just thinking of the potential of him and Aiden Hutchinson just absolutely getting after the quarterback. I'd love the idea of drafting a D tackle in the first round of this draft, an absolute monster in the middle to take a Liam's spot while he's still banged up. So if I had to say it, I'd say Zadarius Smith is probably my number one free agent right now as it sits today.
All right, so that leads me to this question. If the price is the same between Zadarius Smith and Von Miller, which one are you taking?
Zadarius Smith. And that's tough. That's really tough for me. That's not easy. But when I think Von Miller, he's not the same Von Miller he was with the Denver Broncos. Like that dude would dominate a football game. 2-time Super Bowl champion. If you remember that Denver Broncos defense when they went against Cam Newton on an MVP season, Cam Newton looked like Footsteps Falco back there. Like that, he just did not look comfortable. And Cam had a hell of a year. But I just don't think Von Miller is the same player that he was when he was with Denver. I think his best days are behind him. And I'm not saying Zadarius Smith is better even in like a career standpoint, but I just think Zadarius Smith would just be a better fit.
Yeah, I loved Zadarius, so I don't want to take anything away from Zadarius, but I just know what Von Miller is as a teacher. And I'm looking at this thing from a standpoint of we're probably about to get at least a pass rusher, but I think we're going to get 2 pass rushers in this draft. And I think that it could easily be done. When I look at, I think that there's some first tier and second tier pass rushers. I've been holding on to it, but Steve, I'm gonna let it freaking fly. If you're still here 10 minutes in, a lot of you guys like to jet, with 10, 12 minutes in, I'm gonna give some sauce. So excuse me.
Come on, don't die before you give it.
Yeah, try not to die before I give the sauce. But I think we're drafting Landon Jackson, right? So if I'm drafting Landon Jackson, what do I want? I want a teacher in here. I want a teacher in here to teach him how it's done. I want a veteran in here. Von Miller, Zadarius Smith, Calais Campbell, those are guys that are going to be here for pass rush specialists, spot duty, rotational pieces. Those aren't guys that are going to be coming into Detroit to play every single down, right? So with that said, if I get my pass rusher in the draft, and whether or not it's Landon Jackson or not, it doesn't have to be Landon Jackson. There's a bunch of them out there. Nick Scorton, Mike Green, Michael Williams. Like, there's a bunch of them. I just happen to believe that Landon Jackson is a blue collar grit Detroit guy. It just makes sense to me. 6'6", 270 pounds, playing the opposite of 6'7", 270 pounds. Scary. But that said, Von Miller as a teacher, 1-year deal, getting him squared away. Then maybe you go get a Josiah Stewart. Excuse me, I'm trying to hold on, guys. But maybe you go get maybe you go get a Josiah Stewart in the second round, a Jordan Burch in the second round or third round, depending on what's going on. I'm not in a panic about this guard position. When I look at that, if I got 2 brand new edge rush toys, I would love to have Von Miller teaching those new edge rush toys the ways of the world. I would love to have Aiden Hutchinson, who already was on pace to have 1 million sacks, learning the way of the world from Von Miller. So for those reasons, if the price was right, it would be Von Miller first, but I don't want to take anything from Zadarius. If it would be Von Miller for the right price, if the price was the same, Von Miller was number 1, Zadarius Smith would be 1A, right? So it is close, but I've watched Von Miller's pass rush camps. I've watched Von Miller teaching other NFL athletes pass rush moves and just things about being a D lineman and how to be a pro's pro. So I have just a tremendous amount of respect for that. And I think if you get that in the building day in and day out, it could be unbelievable. And if his last stop is in Detroit, maybe he just jumps right in with Coach Campbell and starts coaching, man. So I don't know. Big vision guy. You know how I am, Steve. That's why I love it.
Von Miller is easily one of the best pass rushers we've ever seen in our generation. Like, he's one of those guys that will be first ballot Hall of Fame, like, no question about it. The day he retires, he's in the Hall of Fame. Like, why wait 5 years? Just put the guy in. I'm all for it. And I'm starting to think, guys, I've been listening to Will talk Landon Jackson off camera for weeks now. Like, weeks. And I've told you, the only knock I have on him is it looks like someone just got a little lazy when they were making an NBA 2K5 create a player and they just wanted to get to the game and they didn't want to put any features, including like eyebrows on the guy. All right. So I'm just like, I like the kid and I think he'd be a steal, but I don't know if I'm on board with pick 28 in a trade back scenario. I'm all for it, but we'll talk draft stuff later. But this defense is literally and I told you this, I think a couple months ago, we are 2 to 3 pieces away. If you get a Zadarius Smith and maybe even you get a Von Miller and you draft a Landon Jackson, there's your 3 pieces right there that I was talking about. Bringing Zadarius Smith back, piece 1. Adding a veteran pass rusher who's bound for the Hall of Fame, piece 2. Drafting a young 6'6" defensive end in the first round of the draft. That's piece 3. I don't see anything else you need other than a D tackle somewhere in rounds 2 through 7. And then you're set. And then when Aleem McNeil comes back, we're golden. Just stay healthy this year. That was really the only thing. And I know things happen, ifs and buts, but, we were hurt all last year. And it's no excuse. It just is what it is. Time to move on. But this defense is going to be an absolute nightmare if the right pieces fall the way Steven will want. And I know we're just, a couple dudes in our office in our basement talking football, but I won't say that we've ever been wrong about a draft or what this team needs. And I think Brad looks at it. I think he sees if you start seeing some of the little things he's doing right now with how many people he interviewed at the combine, and defensive line pass rushers was the number one players that was interviewed by the Detroit Lions. And we'll start seeing him start to trickle to some pro days and start seeing who he's looking at and who's on those rosters. And we'll have a pretty good understanding here pretty soon, but I'm excited about this defense.
Yeah, I just feel like with Landon Jackson, Steve, Brad Holmes drafts who he wants to draft. It doesn't it doesn't matter if some Mel Kiper is saying that the guy is a 51st ranked guy and maybe there's 2 or 3 guys that are ahead of him. There's a certain type of DN that he's shown that he wants to have opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, and it's not James Pierce. It's not a fast, lengthy pass rush specialist type of guy. He wants a big, strong, physical defensive end opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. I just feel like Landon Jackson fits that mold. Is there other guys? Yeah, Nick Scorton, Mike Green, Shamar Stewart. Yeah, those are all guys that can fit that same mold. But I just like Landon Jackson because I feel like he's the most blue collar, gritty guy out of all of them. And I feel like everybody is overlooking him. So those are the reasons why I really like Landon Jackson. I'm not saying 100% that it's going to be him. Obviously, I'm not Brad Holmes, but I want him. I want Landon Jackson, and I would be willing to take him at pick 28 if it was me. And I do envision a way to where we could potentially select something else at pick 28, maybe a defensive tackle. Kenneth Grant is another one who I like. I like Derek Harmon as well. Maybe we could select one of those and then trade up and still get Landon Jackson potentially. But I think you're playing a risky game because I think Landon Jackson, if he does slip out of the first round, because I know he's ranked anywhere between, I think, pick 50 and like pick 15, I said is what his age or what I saw his agent told him. So there's teams that are seeing what we're seeing. Dude's 6'6", 270 pounds, got a 40-inch vertical, 11-foot broad jump. Like, dude's a freak athlete, but all that's cool. Like, all that's cool, all that's great. But what really jumps off to me is the film. From the Senior Bowl to his actual Arkansas film, he's a dog, man, and he's a guy who beats you with effort. Bottom line, with the also has the tools. Aiden Hutchinson is an effort guy. 2 relentless guys on both edges. It's the dream that everybody's been asking for, and you didn't have to pay $30 million to go get it, man. So, and he's a guy with, I can't see not being there at pick 28. You might even be able to trade back and then get an extra piece and still select the guy that you want. Landon Jackson is a guy, man, that I'm high on. I think that if we don't select him, we'll be kicking ourselves, man. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, in my world, I would like to trade back out of this draft. And if we got him and a starting defensive tackle and the Detroit Lions just get 2 dominant picks somewhere in the picks of 30s and 40s, maybe even 50s, I don't know what else you need in the rest of the draft, honestly. Like a backup guard, wide receiver, maybe a safety / corner. Like you could just start using words like luxury. There's no real glaring needs on this team. So I'm pretty locked in. I think there's still some good free agents out there. I mean, we talked about other guys like a DeMarcus Lawrence, just kind of throwing out some new pieces tonight with a Von Miller. And I don't think we've really dove into this Darius Smith stuff like we did today. So we just wanted to mention that as well. You got anything else for tonight?
Yeah, I'm still high on Isaiah Simmons, man. We're talking about free agents. I just feel like you don't lose anything. And my biggest worry with Isaiah Simmons is this. I think that a team like the Washington Commanders or the Philadelphia Eagles are a team that I just feel like he ends up in their lap, man, and all of a sudden the dude has a breakout season and goes crazy because he gets used properly. He gets used in a way that maximizes his skills and his abilities, you know what I mean, the skill set. So that's what worries me. I really hope the Detroit Lions just shoot their shot with him, man. Last season he played or he signed for a 1-year, $2 million deal. It's not like he's going to be charging something astronomical. You take a risk on the guy. If it works out, cool. If it doesn't, you go ahead and let him go and thank him for his services and his efforts. I mean, I feel like worst case scenario, you got a 6'3", 240-pound dude that runs a 4.3 running around on special teams. I'm not really going to complain about that. So hopefully Isaiah Simmons is still out there. He's another guy that I would like to take a look at. And the last thing that I'll say is this, and I know we'll do a little bit more when we get more into the draft stuff but I want to know how you feel while we're here. And we've talked about it a little bit. I've kind of got off the selecting a defensive tackle train, man. If we get Derek Harmon or Kenneth Grant, okay. But if we're not getting one of those 2 early, I'm not big on. I wouldn't want to select any of the rest of these guys that'll be available because obviously Mason Graham will be gone in the first round. I'd rather get that edge rusher at pick 28 rather than taking one of those defensive tackles not named Kenneth Grant or Derek Harmon. because I like Roy Lopez. I like DJ Reader. And then I feel like we forget about Mekhi Wingo. Mekhi Wingo is another guy that we're going to get back. So I'm not in a defensive tackle panic, man. Those are three guys that I feel like that are going to be tough players for us. Then we'll have Aleem coming back. And I haven't given up on Bradrick Martin, which is something that we can talk about at a later date, but I haven't put a nail in his coffin, man. He's still here. The dude is still freaking 340 pounds and whatever, 6'4". He's a big body. He had moments before he got injured, man. So year 3 is a lot of times where you see NFL players take a huge step forward, getting to still have the ear of Coach Williams, the best D-line coach in football. And then even though he stepped away, Coach Rogers stepping into that position, another phenomenal D-line coach. This is kind of my prove it year for Bradrick Martin. I got to see it from him this year. And if I do, I'll be excited about it, but I haven't completely given up on him. Are you James Houston, for lack of a better words, on Bradrick Martin? Are you done?
Well, I was done with Bradrick Martin week 6 of his rookie season. All right. I applaud you for being literally the only Detroit Lions fan who still has faith that the Bradrick Martin could be something, because I want to be wrong in this scenario. I am begging to be wrong, but I've seen nothing. We're going into year 3 and I've seen him play hardly any football at all. So like, I don't know. I don't think he's going to do anything. Like, if he puts pads on, I think that would be a major step up from what I've seen the last 2 seasons, but I don't care. I need to see a little bit of production. I need to see you at least be someone that demands a double team and just doesn't get moved. And I think that would be like the bare minimum for me being impressed, but I just don't have faith in him anymore. I didn't have a lot of faith in him when we were drafted, if I'm being honest. Like, I loved the size. I thought maybe he could develop into something, but I don't know. We're going into year 3, and the only thing I've really seen him do is hold Penei Sewell's helmet on the sidelines when he's in the huddle. So I think my book has closed on Bradrick Martin. Will, it closed a long time ago.
I get it. I'm still holding on, man, because I just think when you're in the NFL, man, you're trying to figure it out. Just like in any other situation, whether it's college, the only difference is you got a little bit of money and you have the best trainers and coaches available. And I think last season he tried to become Aleem McNeil. What did Aleem McNeil do? He was a big guy who slimmed down so he could pass rush, right? He tried to follow. He even said it. He tried to follow the blueprint of what Aleem McNeil did, transform his body and try to be a guy who could be more athletic. That's not what Bradrick Martin should be about. He should be trying to be Vince Wilfork. He's already huge, right? He's already 230. He should be as big and strong as possible, learning how to use leverage, and at a minimum, just be a guy who doesn't get moved in the middle of the formation. So with an opportunity to have a full season with a guy like DJ Reader, with the opportunity to have a guy like Casey Rogers, I'm looking for Bradrick Martin to do something this year. I still got hope. I'm still holding on to some belief that it is possible, man. So Bradrick, do it for Will at Detroit Den 313. Prove Steve wrong. It would just make me so happy.
Please do. Please do. But if I were a betting man, I would say that Bradrick Martin's on his last run here with the Detroit Lions, and someone else can take a gamble on him going into his year 4. But I don't know. Put pads on, and I guess I'd be impressed, because that's at least what I would expect him to still be in street clothes on Sundays when the Lions are taking the field. Like, if he puts on pads and a jersey, I think that's step 1. Step 2 might be, hey, maybe he actually gets to walk out onto the field. Step 3 would be not getting absolutely manhandled by an offensive lineman. So I think we're a long ways away from that.
We'll see.
We will see. It's going to be an interesting training camp. I'm rooting for him. Hey, if he's on the Detroit Lions, I'm a fan. I want to see him be productive, but not everyone in the NFL works out. All right. And it's just the way it goes. You know, sometimes we can be wrong, and maybe he goes on to have an average career and he plays in this league for 15 seasons. I don't know. But right now, today, if I had to bet on it, I would say that that's probably not going to be the case with Bradrick Martin. And someone actually said we should trade Bradrick Martin. All I'm going to say is this about that, Will. You have to have value to be traded. Okay. Nobody's trading for Bradrick Martin. Absolutely nobody. There could be an expansion team coming into the NFL that plays in Alaska, and they desperately need a defensive tackle, and they still would not trade for Bradrick Martin. Okay. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I can't tell you you're wrong. So I'm not
Anything else tonight?
No, that's it, man. Just excited for the upcoming week. Again, if you're still here and you didn't catch the beginning, Wednesday we're doing our thing, man. Wednesday, the huge giveaway for hitting 10K. Want to thank everybody who's subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed, what the heck are you waiting for, man? It's going to be some jerseys, it's going to be some gift cards, and who knows what else.
Yeah, 7 p.m. Wednesday night, Steve and Will live. Don't know what we're going to start talking about. Maybe it's just a sit back, a little Q&A. I don't know. Maybe something will happen with the Lions Wednesday and we'll dive into it, but we will be doing some giveaways, some jerseys, some gift cards, 7 p.m. Wednesday. Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.